All right, so today we're going to be talking about how I realized I was trans when I was at the ripe age of 12 years old. I think it's important to have some background information on where I stand now. I'm definitely gender fluid. I might have wound up as a trans woman if I had started HRT when I wanted to, but I didn't. So now I'm just gender fluid because honestly, like, I'm not going to lie, guys, it's a way better for me. You know, it's way better for me. But there seems to be like this weird misconception that because I'm like feminine as a guy, that I am like an egg, which for those of you who don't know what egg means, it's a really stupid term that I disagree with entirely. That basically means like you're not aware that you're trans yet, even though you're going to be. Which I think is weird because labels are just labels and I don't see the need to push labels onto other people, you know? So it's like, oh, you're an egg. Like, no. I think that's like a weird thing to do. Like, no, they're actually them and I'm actually me. And that's really cool. So just to clear it up, no, I'm not an egg. I mean, if you wanted to word it in like a really spicy way, I detransitioned. If you did start at 12, somebody says, if you did start at 12, would your friends and family support you? So this is actually relevant to the story. We'll get into this later, Mo. Thank you for asking this question. So I was probably about 11 or 12. Finn literally had an egg emote and merch before coming out. Yeah, I don't like the term though. I don't like the term though. Of course, Mel. So I had my whole life been into more femme-leaning stuff. You know, I think a lot of people, especially trans women, will be able to relate to this. Trans guys, not so much because, you know, your experience as a trans guy is going to be different than my experience as like a trans woman, right? Even though I'm not a trans woman, but I thought I was for a very long time. And I probably would have been, but I think gender fluidity works way better for me. My whole life, I had definitely leaned very femme. I primarily had female friends. I got along better with them. I had an easier time connecting on an emotional level. I wasn't into all the sports and stuff. I know there was negative thoughts about the egg concept. Sorry. I think that that's hi Indigo, by the way. And Indigo says this. I think that that is a personal thing on my side. I don't think that generally speaking, most people have negative perception of the egg. I don't think that that's a thing. It is fair to bring that up, but I don't think that that is a thing. You're Schrodinger's gender? I think that's a good way of putting it. Hi, Indigo. But yeah, I had always been very femme, right? Like I had a lot of female friends and I got along better with them. And I think a huge portion of the reason that I came out and when I came out so early is because of that, like having so many female friends leading and doing so many femme things. I was just more comfortable around those people. So I wanted to be like those people. Hence, I didn't want to be a guy, right? And it was like that. I was present all my life. Like I really liked more female things or like female clothes. I really liked female things. Like I wanted it, you know, if I could have, I would have played with dolls, you know, but I couldn't, you know, I'm a guy. People think that's weird. Like your dad makes fun of you. Your dad's like, pink is a girl color. Laugh at this guy for wearing pink. You know, a lot of those more toxic masculinity things, it really pushed me out of like masculine spaces, right? If you think of it from a pretty broad standpoint. And when I would play, this is a really funny one. When I would play pretend, did anybody used to play like house or pretend when they were little? Yeah, we all did. I would always, when I was with friends that I was comfortable with, I would always be a girl. I would always pretend to be a girl character in those pretend scenarios. I did. I don't know if you guys did, but I did. Over here in the GERT, we did. All my friends were girls all through school. And I didn't fully realize until almost 10 years later. Yeah, because you don't really think about it until you're older. Yep, yeah, I would always play girl characters. I always found an appeal towards doing that. And I would always play, this is a big one. And I know that this is also controversy because a lot of people play. Okay, have you guys ever seen that meme? I'm going to toss it up right here. It's like, oh, I play girl characters for the smaller hitbox. And then it's like, oh, you're trans for that. I think that that's one, a little odd, but also that stereotype was true for me. And it got to the point where we'll get to it later, but when I came out, my parents thought it was because I played girl characters in video games. So as a desperate attempt to get me to stop playing or to get me to stop wanting to be a woman, my dad said that if he ever caught me playing as a female character in a video game ever again, I would be grounded. very funny story starting that. Just to preface before we get into that, my parents are very supportive and they love me very dearly. So this was a forever ago and we were still growing through things because people take time to grow and change. But yeah, just my whole life, very, very femme leaning. You know, you're playing as a girl in the video game. You're playing as a girl in house. Just literally from the moment I was born, right? Like I'm leaning towards more femme things. I'm liking more femme things. And that definitely planted a seed in my brain that like, oh, I must be more, because I like these feminine things, I must be woman, right? Like that's, I think, the thought process. And I always thought to myself, oh, I want to be a girl, but only if I was like a cute anime girl. Like I don't want to be an ugly girl. I would say that a lot. And I think that that's really sad to think as a middle schooler, but that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. And I had this friend, her name was, I want to make up a name for her. We'll call her Gert. We're going to call her Gert. Her name was Gert, and she was a bisexual woman. Well, she's bisexual now, I'm pretty sure, but she was lesbian at the time. You know, we were all in middle school learning our identities. And she basically opened up the idea that trans people existed into my mind. Like she kind of introduced the idea. And obviously I was pretty enlightened in the gay terms. You know, there was a time period when I had a lot of the LGBTQ pluses memorized, like the stuff after the Qs, because I was a woke guy. I was a very woke guy. I knew a lot of the gay alphabet. And she kind of was the first person to introduce me to this idea. And I thought, and I told her right then when she introduced it, I'm like, well, sometimes I want to be a girl, but like only if I was pretty. And that was the first time I'd ever said that to anybody but myself. I'm laying in bed on my phone texting her, probably 10, 11, 12. I don't remember. I was in the 6th or 7th grade at this time. No, I was in the 6th grade at this time. And that didn't go down well with her because she was very woke. I don't know if any of you had woke middle school friends, but the early stages of the woke were like really, really aggressive. Like they would gatekeep that shit. And she got pissed and she's like, you're not trans. Trans people are real and they go through gender dysphoria and you can't be trans because you don't have that. And obviously that was like, oh, and I thought that she's right. So, because she's my friend. So obviously I start shutting down that idea. You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that, right? Like I felt bad. God, that was way better than what we have now. You know, maybe we should go back to being overly woke. You know, I miss overly woke people. Woke people in general are hard to come by down here. Yeah, it used to not be like that. Honestly, nowadays, like, woke has changed a lot. It's not how it used to be. From becoming gay, let's send it to an all-guy school with no girls. Perfect logic. That would not work, boss. By the way, I had known I was pansexual for a while. I was more comfortable with that identity because I thought it was... Honestly, this is true. It's a lot easier to be not like have a different sexuality than it is to change your gender. As somebody who has tried to do both, right? Being pansexual / gay, way fucking easier than trying to be trans. Okay, like it is way fucking easy. You do not deal with nearly as much bullshit. You say everyone's bi nowadays, you know? Yeah, not really, but I mean, maybe. God, gender shit is so complicated. So all these ideas were like festering in my brain as a young little lad, right? And I'm thinking all these things, and you know, at the time I had started listening to Cave Town. Now, a little fun fact: any of you guys know anything about Cave Town, guys? Because I didn't when I started listening to Cave Town, but now I do. Any of you guys know anything about Cave Town? I divide booze all the time, even for my friends. That's so good. Cave Town. You know, This Is Home by Cave Town. You guys are so old. You know, there's no way you don't. Okay, okay. This Is Home is essentially a song about gender dysphoria. Okay, I'm just putting that out there. That's essentially what it is, and it's great. And I didn't know that at the ripe age of however the fuck I was old. Okay. I don't remember at this point. This is over the course of middle school, so I don't know how old I am at this point. Oh my God. Probably 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that age range. And I'm laying down, I'm listening it, and I finally decide to look into like more about, I just start Googling, dude. You're like, am I transgender BuzzFeed quiz? This is real shit, guys. I guarantee you so many, do you need to blow your nose? Yes! Leave me alone. Yes. Wild shit. No, I was woke. At that age, I was MAGA, bro. Wild shit. No, dude, from age 12 to 15, I was woke as fuck. I'm still woke as fuck, but I was even woker back then. I want to suck your nostrils dry to keep you from sniffing. Okay, back to the topic at hand. I'm crying to Cave Town because the song is sad, obviously, and I'm literally, I'm not even joking, I'm literally taking Am I Trans quizzes. This has been like years had passed since the initial incident with Gert. And at that point, I'm like, fuck, like, this might be real. Like, I think I really want this, like, really bad. Like, really bad. I think I really want this. Yeah, that sucked, guys. I tried to tell my parents, and it went. That's a story for another time. But just to put it out there, I'm just letting you know the way that I found out if I was trans was by doing trans quizzes. I am being 100. Dude, I'm being 100 serious. Trans quizzes is like the tipping point here, and it was all downhill from there. It was like my whole life I had been femme, and then you finally you're down the pipeline, okay? My pipeline wasn't even that crazy compared to most. Oh, of course I've taken autism quizzes. Of course we've all taken these. No, you spent your whole life being like, oh my gosh, I wish that I was a girl. And then you're like, wait, this is a thing you can actually change to be a girl, right? It is a horrible idea, but then you take the trans quizzes and it starts to validate you, right? And then you start looking up like, what is, like, because I didn't know, I was a little kid. I start looking up like, what is being trans? What is it? What do trans people feel like? And I'm like, I feel exactly like this. I hate my body, and I hate being a guy, and I hate being called a he and a him. And I hate that I have to wear boring masculine clothes. I wish I could wear cute frilly dresses and be called a princess, you know? Like, you're thinking all of these things, and my little prepubescent kid brain. And yeah, I was right. I would say I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be blunt. The moment that I decided that I was okay being gender fluid was the moment that I was able to express myself. I definitely think that I could 100% live life as a woman, and I would have been perfectly happy. It probably would have been preferred. But I will say that the moment I was able to express my feminine side, immediately that horrible pain of hating myself went away. It was like a magic snap. All those years of longing for it, and then finding out that there's a group of people that actually are able to do it, and it's okay. Like, having people exist, because I met my first ever friend that was trans. It was a trans girl. And finding that there was a group of people where they accepted and thought it was okay to dress as a different gender, to identify as a different gender, it helped me feel so much better that eventually, as a joke, I started doing it, and then I felt a lot better. And I came out to my parents shortly after realizing that I was trans. It did not go well, but that's a story for another time, because now my parents are my best friends, and I love them, and they accept me, and they are kind. So yeah, that's how I found out, guys. That's how I learned that I was trans. That was my pipeline. And then after I started expressing myself, I realized that gender fluidity is much easier for me, because I'm able to express whatever I want, whenever I want. It's just a looking in the mirror thing. Looking femme just feels right, see? And I have countless other stories, like the time that I bought my first femme outfit. I was probably late 14, early 15 when I bought my first femme outfit. I snuck it. That was a funny story. It went horribly. I snuck it, and I loved it, and it made me happy. That was huge for me. And then I also have how it went with my parents when I came out. That's a very interesting story. I have a whole variety of stories, but that's the story of how I realized, just to run everybody up, how I realized that my gender identity was not cisgender.